Ohio Congressman and chair of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. Good morning to you, Mr. Chairman. So Wallace Jones dodged answering any questions during your hearing with her last month. She now refuses to hand over documents. I mean, is contempt or is the Department of Justice the best way to get answers now?
Well, maybe, I think both, frankly. We may have to go to contempt. We want this information. And by the way, if I was, frankly, her, I think if anyone was her, I'd have probably taken the fifth, too, because remember, we had already deposed her entire fraud prevention team, who had all either resigned, been forced to resign, or fired. So there are 3 top lawyers, in-house lawyers. There are 2 fraud prevention specialists who were running this thing. We deposed all of them. They all took the fifth. And then their board member said it looks like maybe 38 million came from foreign sources. That was an email that we did have in our investigation. And then finally, you had the outside counsel who sent the letter to Ms. Wallace Jones a year ago saying it looks like the first response you gave to Congress in writing may not be accurate, and there may be knowing and willful attempts to mislead Congress. When you use those terms, knowing and willful, that means something. That says something. So with all that fact pattern, I would have probably taken the fifth, too, if I was her. So that's the situation. And now we want documents. We want documents, particularly from one of their lawyers who wrote a resignation letter. We think that's going to lay out some of the stuff that we suspect was going on there. We'd like to get that document and some other documents as well, and that's what we've subpoenaed. We'll see if they comply.
So, Mr. Chairman, this investigation involves elections past. Do you have any evidence that they're making changes, or they're going to change what's happening in the election now as we're gearing up for the midterms?
Well, the fact that we're watching, that we're investigating 3 committees of the United States Congress, the fact that the Justice Department is looking into this, if that doesn't send a message, the fact that you got a letter from, oh, by the way, the counsel who wrote them the memorandum saying you may have misled Congress, that wasn't just some Republican lawyer. That was a big law firm here in town, and it was Dana Remus, former White House counsel for Joe Biden. So with all that fact pattern, they better be on top of preventing illegal foreign contributions coming into ActBlue. The other thing I'd point out is, remember, this is the fundraising machine. This is the juggernaut behind Democrat left campaigns. This is ActBlue bringing in billions of dollars every election cycle. And again, we think, and it sure looks like the evidence is pointing in that direction, that they were taking a lot of foreign money, which is why we're looking into it.
And you also know that the DOJ is executing the largest federal health care fraud crackdown in U.S. history. At the same time, 455 defendants charged across 45 states in connection with more than $6.5 billion in alleged fraud. They seized more than $182 million in cash, luxury vehicles, jewelry. Really, the list goes on and on, Mr. Chairman, and we know it doesn't end there. So how did this become so widespread, so embedded?
Well, part of it is just the amount of money the federal government has out there in various programs. I think the other part is the lack of checks and balances on the front end before the money goes out the door. I think all that's going on. And then, frankly, there were politics. We know up in Minneapolis, for example, one of the first things we learned about was this Feeding Our Future program, where during COVID, underprivileged kids it was designed to give meals to kids who weren't in school. Trouble was, up there in Minneapolis, there were no kids and no meals. They were just pocketing the money. They were just saying, they were filling out a form saying, oh, we fed so many kids today, but there were no kids and no meals provided. They just pocketed the money, stuffed it in their pockets. That dynamic looks like was going on in lots of places. But up there it was in the Somali American community, and we had a Somali American who worked in the Attorney General's office there in Minnesota who said the reason they didn't stop this was the politics. This was an important voting block. Their words, not mine. Important voting block, and the Democrats, the governor and the Attorney General up there, let it go on. So politics played a big part in all this. And now, God bless Todd Blanche and Colin McDonald, who are the key folks at the Justice Department who were focused on stopping this. And this indictment, again, as you point out, $6.5 billion. That's how big this thing was. And it was nationwide. I think it was like 40-some different states where they found this going on. So God bless them for indicting. One of the best ways to stop something is to indict the people who do the wrong, steal the money. That's a big deterrent, and so that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I also wonder why Republicans are the only ones who are going after the fraud. All right, Mr. Chairman, Jim Jordan, great to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.